Continuing on to Ruth chapter 2. As I mentioned, that many scholars choose to deal with this entire section as one. They see this all in one piece. And that is true that this is all in one piece, but the more I went through the text in order to have it in many bite-sized pieces, that I wanted to do it, deal with this really on its own term because there's so much going on here. And what I named this section of Ruth chapter 2, verses 14 to 16, I had named it the invitation for fellowship. Some things going on in here culturally that I want to explain. And those are some words that are new. Um, the word here for reproach is it's in the Hifil, and it means to cause harm. Now there are seven, I repeat seven, basic verb patterns in seven basic word patterns in Hebrew. Seven. Um, and then the Hifil is one of them. But the Hifil has this more of this causative function is that when it is in the Hifil. And this word for rebuke is also there. It means to insult. So those are some very basic words that are going on here, and you also see God's providence here. I God's providence, very simply, is God's invisible hand that you often do not see. Very rarely do we see God's providence in that time. Very rarely has this ever really come up. Um, there's some cultural things going on. Um, it it talks about mealtime. When they're talking about mealtime, this is sometime during lunch. So whenever that would I would think could be at more middle of the day, but that's what. So they're talking about lunch here when they're talking about mealtime. They're not talking about that dinner. Um, Next is a no, morsel is a portion of food near or equal to a mouthful, often used of bread. This morsel would have been like a grain cake cooked in oil. That I want you to think of pound cake. That's the best way to think about this. Wine. Now the wine could either be wine or it could be a vinegar that has gone through some type of a fermented process like wine. That this would have been used specifically for food. So there's wine that you drink, but then there's this wine that is used specifically to dip food. This is what the wine is. This is what this is in reference to. They would not drink this wine because it would be very bitter. Next, a sheaf. Sheaves. A sheaf. A sheaf often denotes either a bundle or a small heap of grain. Grain was put in sheaves before it was transferred to the threshing floor. Therefore, sheaves could be in a better position in the field. These are some things that are going on within some cultural things. So as we read through this text, that it's going to give us a better understanding of really what's going on. So let's start. Um, Starting at chapter 2, verse 14. And at mealtime, lunch, Boaz said to her, "Come here and eat some bread and dip your morsel in the wine." So hey, you come and eat with us. So she sat beside the reapers, and he passed to her roasted grain, and she ate until she was satisfied, and she had some left over. When she rose to glean, Boaz, Boaz instructed his young men, saying, "Let her glean over among the sheaves, and do not reproach her. And also pull out some from the bundles for her, and leave it for her to glean. Do not rebuke her. Do not insult her. Do not cause harm to her." This section is very, very small. It's only a couple of verses, but it really breaks down in three main things. First, Boaz invites Ruth to eat with with the group. Um, in verse 14, right here, Boaz meets Ruth's immediate need, and she sits beside the group. Boaz gives her food. Ruth is full and has left over. So not only has he met her need right now, her immediate need, but he's also helped to supply her with leftovers, and also for Naomi as well. Next, in verse 15, Boaz instructs the reapers not to harm her. And in verse 16, Boaz instructs the reapers to provide for Ruth. At some point, when it was time to eat, like I said, probably during lunchtime, Boaz invites Ruth to come and eat with the group. Historically and culturally, they would have eaten together. If you were not, eating with a group, then you were very clearly an outsider, and that was a hint that you were not welcome. Culturally, the eating together was a sign of a covenant of acceptance. Very interesting. I have a friend, or that when I was in college, um, that I had a professor who was from China, and what he told me was is that every time that the workers would leave work, that they would all go out to eat, and if that you were not, so um so then that the wives expected their husbands to show up late from work, and if you were not part of that group, so if you came home early, the wife knew that there was something wrong with you and your job and your relationship with your job. Very interesting. Inviting moving on, inviting Ruth, who was an outsider, says to her and the entire group that she is one of us and not an outsider. So when Boaz brings her in, he says, "Hey, come on." He, as the boss, he, as a position in authority of not just Ruth but everybody, tells them that she is part of the group. Well, once again, Boaz is in a position of authority of not just Ruth, but really everyone. Although Boaz is one in authority, he is not authoritarian. He does not see him above everybody else, but he sees himself as one of them. Here, Boaz shows the proper way to use one's authority and an influence to be a vessel of grace and kindness. Boaz invites Ruth to join them. This invitation does several things. First, it meets her immediate need of hunger. Second, she is seated with the group and not as an outsider, but as an insider. True acceptance, true acceptance invites people in within the group so that they can partake of the fellowship of well. Third, he gives her food. the obvious leader of the group, initiating and telling the group she is one of them. She is accepted, even though that she is an outsider. In this group, she is one of us. Fourth, he eats to her fill. She's full. She has abundance, and lastly is that he also provides for her food future. Boaz here goes above and beyond. He has already allowed her to glean from the fields in verses 8 through 10. But now he takes his kindness to the ultimate level. He goes to the next level of possibly allowing her to go to a more fruitful place in the field, even give her some by leaving some for her. Boaz not only invites her, but he also instructs his reapers not to cause verbal harm to her. Boaz, I am obviously aware some reapers would not like an outsider being shown much favor. Boaz also instructs the reapers to pull out some of their own, so Ruth can be provided for. Boaz adds an additional comment, and do not rebuke her. This is do not mock her or do not insult her while you are doing it. So Boaz here is an example of how we use our authority. We all have authority. We all do. It's how you use it for those who are outsiders. Go over the questions and go through, and see you tomorrow as we continue on with the book of Ruth.